greet you with the joy of Jesus. Glad to see you out tonight for this faith and finance last session. And it's been just amazing to me. How about you? Even with all I thought I knew, I still learned so much more and got so much more to do. And so I'm committed to doing those things. So let's stop now and just bow for a moment of prayer as we prepare to open up. Father, how we bless you and we thank you for your goodness, your mercy, and grace toward us tonight. Thank you, oh God, for keeping us throughout the day, preserving us, and allowing us, God, to make it to this place this evening safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. Thank you for those, God, who have turned aside tonight. God, I know it's been a long day for some, but thank you that they've come, and I pray that you will renew their energy now for this time that we'll spend together. Remove every distraction, God, so that they can really hear and receive what is being given tonight. Thank you for loving us enough to continue to empower us and continue to grow us and prosper us, Lord. Your word says you desire that we prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospers. And so, God, we bless your name and we thank you. We thank you for our bishop and we thank you for our leadership. And God, we're asking now that as we turn aside to hear this information, that those places that we need to shore up, those places, God, that we need to improve upon, that we don't feel condemned, God, but that we will feel as if we have been given the grace to handle it, to get it done. And so we thank you, we bless you, we thank you for how our lives will prosper because of the things that we put into practice. And so we thank you, we give you praise now. Bless our guests tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. And so I know others are coming, but as I was saying, this has really, really blessed me. It's blessed me to be able to bring it to you. Because so many people I deal with on a one-on-one basis, and I have been saying for a long time that I wanted to do this. I wanted to have this kind of format so that we could talk to the general body and impart this information to everybody at the same time. And so I'm just thankful that we're able to do this. I appreciate you for hanging in here. I know sometimes when we're in situations such as this where we're talking about these kinds of issues, it can create a sense of overwhelm, and for some it can even create a sense of guilt. But I don't come to do either of those. One of the things I want you to know is you got to do a little bit at a time. So that the things that we've been covering for the last 5 weeks, if you at that place where you say, I haven't done any of that, I got to catch up, it's okay. There's grace for you. And you can do a little bit at a time so that you can get yourself on your feet. If you're in that place of feeling guilty, don't, because all of us have areas that we still need to work on. All of us have missed the mark in some area or another. So you're not, worse than anybody else. So don't allow the enemy to play with your mind that way. See this as an opportunity for you to get started and get moving in the right direction. I appreciate those who are streaming in with us this evening, because there have been different people telling me that they're catching it on social media or YouTube. I was at daytime Bible study this afternoon at 12, and I so appreciated them telling me. I went back on YouTube to watch what you all, even though we've been giving it to them at the noonday session, they've been coming back on at the 6:30 hour to even tune in again. And now this is going to be out there for them even to share with their families. So can y'all put your hands together and give God some praise right there? Amen, amen. So we're turning our attention tonight we've talked about, we did our regular Bible study, then we talked about wills and trusts, we've talked about insurance, and tonight we're going to be talking about our general finances. We're going to be taking a deep dive into the daily financial landscape of our lives, all right? That includes our debt and banking and all of those things, okay? So we're going to do it the same way, same format. If you have a question, we want you to come to the mic so that the people that are streaming in, they can hear your question. Okay? Y'all good? Y'all real quiet. I thought I was going to have a lively group tonight because the weather is so nice. It is beautiful out there. And so I said, whoa, everybody's going to come in a good mood and ready and all that. But y'all just sitting here just looking. Look at somebody and tell them, perk up. All right, smile or do something. Say, how you doing? How was your day? Come on, we need to check in because maybe somebody's struggling this evening. All right, okay. Oh, is it daylight saving? That hour still getting you? It's getting me too, I promise you it is. Last night I was so off, it was too early to go to bed. Right, this morning I was still sleepy. I had to get on up. So, yeah, I do understand that. I really do. So, we got a special guest in the house, and I want to introduce you to Miss Shauna Burton. Woo! And Shauna is going to tell us what she does on her second job outside of New Life of Memphis.
Right, my second job. So my first real job, I guess, is that I'm the church administrator at New Life of Memphis, right? So my corporate job is that I am a financial center manager at Bank of America. I have been at the bank for 17 years, and so that is what I do every day. I manage a team of associates that help clients on a daily basis with banking, borrowing, savings needs, and so that's what I do. It brings me joy to be able to help clients and help them dream big and help them just really determine what their reality is on what they can do with their finances. So that's my other real job.
All right, and she brings that expertise to New Life of Memphis, and we are thankful for it. So we're going to dive right on in, and I have questions that I'm going to have to talk to Shauna about, but also, again, your questions can be answered as well. And so when we're talking about, earning and expenses and debt and all of that, how do you distinguish? I'm going to start here. How do you distinguish between good debt and bad debt?
And you're probably wondering, how in the world can debt be good? Is that your question? So there is a such thing as good debt. So if you think about your home, you have collateral. The home is your collateral, right? You're paying for a home, but you're creating equity. You're building equity in your home. That's good debt, because you're going to eventually be able to get something out of that. Bad debt is what you allow to revolve. Okay. All right, so you think about credit card debt. You think about even your car. That's good debt because you have something that's tangible that you're paying for. But that revolving debt that we continue to pay interest on, that's what we would consider bad debt.
Okay, so you said credit card would be considered bad debt.
If you leave those balances.
Okay, so tell us more about that. So should we not have any credit cards?
No, you should have credit cards.
Okay, so y'all got that?
Yeah.
Now, let me plug right here. So when we talk about not having credit cards, a lot of times people say, well, I just pay everything cash. I don't have any credit cards, right? I want you to consider that. Talk about that a little bit.
If you don't have credit cards, then think about it. You can't create the good debt. A lender is not going to consider you to be someone that they want to do business with because they don't know what your ability to pay would be.
They don't know even your habit.
That's right.
Concerning paying.
Yeah, they don't know your payment history. They don't know what kind of income that you have, that you're even able to turn around and make payments. Mm-hmm. So you got to have some kind of credit, and it's all about the mix of credit that you have.
Right.
You don't just want credit card debt. You want some installment loans. You want some auto loans. You want all of those things because that is what determines how qualified you are for a debt.
So think about it this way. Your credit history shows or reflects your character when it comes to money. when you walk in, so say for instance you decide, okay, I'm gonna start a business, all right, but you have no character history to say, if you want to walk into a bank and say, now I want a small business loan, you don't have any character history to say, this is the integrity I have that you can depend on, that if you give me this small business loan, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do.
That's
Does that
why
make
you have
sense?
to have co-signers.
Absolutely.
Because I haven't established myself, and so I need someone to co-sign with me that has established debt until I can build my own.
Okay. And one of the things that my mom always taught me, and I do live by this, because you know you had this idea, and I'm going to ask you to answer this question, but you had this idea, okay, I'm going to pay off all my credit cards, and then I'm going to get rid of them. But my mother used to always say, you need to keep a credit card because you don't ever know what's going to happen. And so if you have if your car needs 4 new tires, you don't want to have to go into your savings account, right? Or in your bill money. So you want some other avenue that you have just in case, that if you have to do something and it's an emergency, it doesn't take all your funds away. Does that make sense? And so since I asked that, you also advise when we pay down or off our credit cards not to close them.
Yeah, don't ever close your cards. When you say it's going to tank your credit, it's going to tank your credit score. And the other thing, too, is you want that credit balance. You want that limit because you want to be able to use that for your credit utilization. The lesser the amount of credit that you have, that's the lesser amount when it comes to your credit utilization.
Okay, now you're saying utilization, but they may not know what that means. So let's talk about that. Break that down.
All right, so say, for instance, you've got a credit card that has a limit, one credit card that has a limit of $10,000. If you have a balance on that card of $5,000, what is your credit utilization on that one card? You're at 50%. But good credit says that you should have less than 30%, right? So you're already above. But if you've got another card out there that you're not necessarily using that matches, say for instance, it's got you got another couple of cards that's got $20,000. So now you've got $30,000 worth of available credit, but you still only have that same $5,000 worth of credit. Worth of balance. Aren't you meeting it now?
Does that make sense to y'all?
Right? So you want to be able to utilize that balance, that limit that you're not utilizing in balances. Does that make sense? That's why you don't want to close it.
Right, because if you got those other cards and you haven't even used them, they kind of they balance you out, right? They offset it, and so you pay down the credit cards, but don't close them out. And this idea of going down to 30%, because sometimes we go to all of these places that say we'll help you fix your credit. Well, one of the things they're going to talk to you about doing is getting all your debt down to 30% or lower than that credit card. Does that make sense? Everybody following us? Okay. So we don't want to close our credit cards. We want to leave those out there, right? That doesn't mean you have to use them, but leave them, because when you close them, what happens to your credit?
It's going to go down. You're gonna have a drop in your credit score automatically.
Even though you paid it off.
Mm-hmm. It's going to drop.
It's going to drop your credit card.
Now you want to look at the cards that you have. If it's a card that you're not using that carries a balance, if it carries a annual fee, that one you may want to reevaluate. Does that make sense? Because you don't want to pay for a card that you're not necessarily using that's carrying an annual fee.
When would it be advantageous to have a credit card that has an annual fee?
You would want that, especially if you're if you're a big traveler. So say, for instance, American Express has a Delta Sky Miles card. And if you travel a lot, that particular card, it will pay for your baggage fees. It'll pay for you and up to 8 others right, that are traveling with you. It also allows you to upgrade your status on your medallion for Delta when you're flying Delta. Those particular ones, it'll pay for itself. There are some other cards that'll also give you like a $200 travel credit or a hotel credit, or it'll give you Uber. It'll pay your monthly fees on Uber if you like to do that. So those will be the times that having a card with an annual balance when it really pays.
So when we travel, like we've got to go out of town next month, but when we travel together as a staff, all our bags are paid for, right? Because we use those credit cards that already gives us those perks. And Shauna helped me because I did have credit cards that had perks on them that I wasn't even using. I wasn't even getting my cash back. I just paid my bill every month, but not even paying attention to the perks that came with the card. As a matter of fact, one card that I had used just last 2 weeks ago, they sent me back a check because I hadn't used the card, but I had this $67 cash back on there. And I guess they said, well, since you're not going to use this card, let us go on and send you this $67. And then last week, Shauna was like, Pastor Linda, your business card, for my other business that I have, she's like, you got $300 sitting on this card because I had gotten a cash back because I try to make purchases on my business card, right? How many of you got businesses? All right? You want to be using those business cards. Shauna really helped me with this because I wasn't using my business card. Because I was thinking, use my business card just for, when I have to go out and do a seminar or workshop, use my business card if I've got to make purchases that are relative to that workshop. So then I get to tax season. I had a big tax bill. I was mad about it. But no, because I always say now, don't ask the Lord to increase your revenue if you don't want to pay taxes. You're going to go to another tax bracket. That's just a part of it, right? So I said, okay. And I was asking the tax guy, and Shauna was with me. I said, why am I paying so much in taxes? He said, Pastor Linda, you don't have enough write-offs. Because I wasn't using my business, Linda Willis Empowers, I wasn't using that credit card. So I said, I didn't do this in in daytime Bible studies. So I said, but we got entrepreneurs in here. So I said, well, I've purchased things that are relative to me doing facilitating workshops or whatever I'm doing. They started telling me I could write off getting my hair done. I wasn't doing that. I could write off my clothes. Do you hear what I'm saying? But I wasn't doing that because I wasn't educated in that area to know that they looked at my clothes that I wear when I go out to do a workshop or seminar or something. They look at that as my uniform, right? So I want you all to start thinking that way. Now, don't get in trouble. Talk to your tax person. But I had no clue that now everything goes.
Everything. Do y'all hear that?
Well, think about it. I travel a lot. I have to go to different places to speak and preach and all of that. I really do have to have my hair done probably more than the average person, right? I really do, though Lisa Gibson gives me in trouble with just going out shopping. I really do have to have a lot of clothes because everywhere I go, somebody's taking a picture of me, right? So you can't just show up the next Sunday in the same outfit. Y'all know that. Now, men can do that. Men can wear a black suit, blue suit. They can get rid of it. But as a female, when you walk on the platform, everybody's looking at you from head to toe. All right? So I got a whole lot of YouTube videos out there, and everybody can see what I've already worn. So anyway, okay, we just got off track. But I want you to think about credit is not a bad thing if you manage it well. Credit is not a bad thing if you don't get yourself in over your head.
And that's why it's important to know what cards you carry.
Okay.
And in knowing what cards you carry, then that gives you buying power when you're making your purchases. There are credit cards that give you maximum rewards for paying your utility bill.
Because tell them what you do.
So I pick and choose which cards that I use for everything. Like, it's not just by happenstance that a card gets used. I know every card and what perks I'm gonna get from each one of them, regardless of what it is that I'm doing. Does that make sense? When I pay my tithes, there are certain cards that I use when I have a certain number that I need to meet for that year. I'm gonna pay my tithes with that particular card. I'm gonna make big purchases with those particular cards, and I'm strategic with it, right? So it matters.
You pay your tithes on that card, then you just go pay it off.
And I just go pay it off.
But you got the points, so the perks for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she taught me that too. So this past year, Shauna bought a new home, and what we call ourselves, L and R. I mean L and C designers, Linda and Courtney. We decorated her whole home, and it was a huge budget. All right. So what was interesting to me is, sometimes I called and I was like, Shauna, this is gonna cost a lot, right? And she was like, that's all right. We got extra money because I got cash back on what you all already purchased. See how that's working? So we were able to use that. So I want you to begin your money needs to always be making money for you. And it can make money in different ways if you begin to creatively look at it, all right? Because you even travel. Some of your vacations have been paid for.
I don't pay for travel.
Okay,
I don't pay for travel because I'm using my cards strategically for that, right? So I know where I'm going. I know how much I need in order to get travel points for, to be able to get travel credits for. And so I'm going to do that ahead of time so that I can cover whatever those fees are, all right? So that's like, for instance, on the card that you're talking about, which, by the way, you still got my card.
I saw it today.
You did?
Yeah.
That means you're going to buy some more stuff, right? Is that what that means, Courtney? Right?
I saw it today.
Y'all,
I was having a spending good time on Shauna's card.
I promise you. I promise you she was.
We're going to do a video so y'all can see the house. It's beautiful.
But what I did with that particular card was I could change what I spent that, used for that card every month. So I could change the designation. So when we first started out, I chose home improvements because during that particular time we were, redoing some things. But then when it became time for you to purchase furniture and things like that, I changed it to online shopping, right? Mm-hmm. And so in some instances, I got as much as 6% back on transactions. And you're talking about having to furnish an entire home. And so when that happened, I was able to get some very good cash back on those particular purchases.
How much?
$1,500 was what we got back.
Isn't that something?
And that was just on transactions that we were making, and I put no other charges on that card during that time period.
One card.
And she wouldn't. I tried to give her another card. She was like, I don't like that one. I want this one.
Well, I didn't have time. So she didn't choose anything in her house. It was all chosen by me and Courtney. So I didn't have time to be looking at cards and saying, no, I just needed that one card, and we did everything on that one card. But look she got back $1,500 versus charging something and not getting anything back. Does that make sense?
Because here's the thing. When you use your debit card, are you getting anything in return for that?
Nothing.
You don't get a thing. But the financial institution does. So if I'm going to use a card, guess who's going to get something? It's going to be me. I'm talking about everything. I don't just walk up and pay for a charge. Like, all of my cards are in my wallet, in my digital wallet. So therefore, I don't have to carry the actual physical card. But when I'm getting ready to make my purchase, I'm making a real effort and decision intentional about what card I'm going to use for that particular transaction.
That makes sense? Okay. Now, so let's talk about if we got debt and we need to pay it down. What are the strategies, 2 strategies that we use that you talked about?
So 2 separate strategies. You've got the snowball, and then you've got the avalanche. Y'all know what those are? All right, so snowball, you're gonna list your debts, and you're gonna list them from largest to smallest. You're gonna start with the smallest, pay that one off. When you pay that one off, you're gonna have some money left that you've been making those payments with, and you're gonna take that and you're gonna add it to the next one. And then you're gonna keep going until your debt has been paid off, all right? With the avalanche, you're gonna do it based on interest rates, all right? So you're gonna list your cards, you're gonna list them by interest rate, and you're gonna start with the one that has the highest interest rate. And that's the one that you wanna tackle first. And then once you pay that off, then you'll go to the next one that has the second highest interest rate. Does that make sense? So you pick and choose which one works best for you. If you're a person that needs satisfaction in knowing that you've completed something, you're probably gonna wanna do the snowball. Does that make sense? Because you wanna because maybe your smallest card is $1,000. And if that gives you that, I did it, then you can do that $1,000 and then keep going to the next one.
And one of the things that you told me that I did is about calling the credit card company and having them lower the interest.
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
So you're their client. They want you on their books, especially if you're a good paying client, and you want to be able to say to them, hey, what can you do for me? You owe yourself that to ask them. What are they gonna say? Either yes or no. Most of the time it may be 1 or 2%, but is it worth it?
Absolutely.
It's gonna be worth it for you because it's gonna help you pay down your debt quicker, especially if you've got some larger balances on those cards.
And it worked best for me when the balance wasn't really high. See, when your balance is really high, they know they got you over a barrel. But if your balance is low, but you want to do that because you may charge some more stuff on that card, but you've gotten that lower interest rate.
And then you may have balance transfer opportunities available
Talk
on
about
that. So you've got what's called, y'all heard of balance transfers? So balance transfer opportunities is one of the ways that you want to use to also help pay down some debt. You can move it around. Now, in moving it around, you want to be careful that you're not letting those balances sit beyond that period of time, that introductory period that it's allowing you that 0% or either that 1.99%. So you want to be able to, you want to be really, really intentional about making those payments and making them on time and before that expiration period happens. Now, not only are there balance transfer opportunities available, there are also, you probably get offers about having money deposited into your checking account from your credit card. Y'all heard about those? Those are the same thing. The only difference is it doesn't have to necessarily go to a credit card. There are some times where you may have had to get a hot water heater, or you're having to do get some not just your hot water heater, what's something else? Buy a new washer or dryer, right? And so you want to use that. Or if you had to get a new fence put at the house and the fence company doesn't have a credit card machine, and so you're having to use that, you can have those funds deposited into your checking account and still get the benefit thereof of the balance transfer introductory period. Does that make sense?
And that was one of the ways that I paid down my debt. Now, I do that like 2 or 3 times. But that's one of the ways. See, it works better for me because Capital One is always offering them. Chase will send you the checks. Capital One will offer you got to go online and look, but they're always offering you 12 months, no interest, 18 months, no interest, 24 months, no interest, balance transfer, right? And so what I like to do, or what I've done, is if I had several credit cards and I wanted to pay those credit cards off, but I didn't want to keep accruing that interest every month until I got it paid off, I transferred all of those balances to another Capital One, right? And then I got 18 months or whatever to pay that off, no interest. And all I had to do was pay the transfer fee. And the transfer fee is going to be
anywhere from 3 to 5%, if that much.
So, but think about that. If I'm only paying 3% on a balance transfer, but my credit card interest was 21% or 29%, See how much I'm saving? So even though you got that one-time balance transfer fee, and then you got 18 months, and as Shauna said, you got to be on time, and you got to go on and pay it off by that 18 month. But you've saved all that interest, and that has worked well for me. That really has. Anybody got any questions right through here? Okay. How do we avoid falling back into debt, Linda Willis, after we paid off our credit cards? Don't go shopping with Lisa Gibson.
So, that happens for a couple of different reasons. We don't have an emergency fund set to the side. You mentioned earlier about needing 4 new tires. And we immediately go and put that back on a card and don't have a plan to pay it back off. And so what happens is it becomes the 4 tires, then it becomes the washer and the dryer.
Right.
And we keep going, and we don't have self-control because we really didn't learn a lesson when we paid it off. Does that make sense? And then we go back to just charging everything without the discipline of making the payments for it. Because sometimes
More than the minimum
more
amount.
than the minimum. And sometimes we like looking at the balances in our checking account versus having zero balance on those cards.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's a mind thing.
It is.
That I'd rather see it in my checking account than to pay that bill off. And I'm accruing interest on that money, on
Which
that
makes
credit card.
absolutely no sense at all.
But we like to look at open our account and see that money still sitting there. That money that's not making any interest at the bank while you're leaving that credit card balance that's accruing interest. That's really a stronghold right there
It is.
that we have to get rid of.
Please
That makes sense? All right? And what I did, okay, so when I transferred money over, did the transfer balance or whatever, then I targeted my whatever extra money I was earning or whatever extra money that was coming through, along with what I had already decided to pay per month, and that's how I was able to pay that on down, right? How many of you may not have a business per se, but you got other streams of income? You need to find you some other streams of income.
That's that 90% you were talking about, right?
Absolutely. Well, remember the 90%, you gotta start looking at how can I increase the income, right? I'm gonna take my debt down, but how can I increase my income? And there are all kinds of ways. You don't necessarily have to establish a business, though you can, right? That you may be doing, and your business may be to specific clients. Like, me.
I have a third job. I do. Because your talents make room for you. When I bought my house from an old employee of mine. And during my transaction, for anybody that's recently bought a home, you may have what's called a transaction coordinator that helps you throughout your process to get you from contract to close, right? So that person may be the one that sends you your documents or tells you, hey, you got to schedule your inspection, you need to have this particular thing done, those specifics when it comes to getting, like I said, getting you from contract to close. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that, and said it and went on about my business. You didn't know what he came back and said to me about a month later? Will you work for me? Absolutely, I'll work for you. So guess what? I get paid for every transaction that he does. He closed 30 deals last year. This year alone already, he's closed 14. So it just makes room for you. But that made so much sense to me when you were talking about that 90, because we don't think about the talents that God gives us. And so that's what helps to eliminate some of our debt. Even it's a whole testimony behind how I started working for New Life of Memphis. Mm-hmm. And that came from me writing on an envelope, sitting in that back seat where Cynthia is sitting today, and ended up having a job at New Life of Memphis because that was my prayer. So it's all about what you put in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and it is about asking the Lord to show you, all right, other streams of income and monetizing the things that you do. It's wonderful to be generous and give to people, but when you start seeing it become consistent, then you need to think about monetizing what you do. whether that's helping people write their resumes, whether that's, helping them with their budgets or whatever it is. In this world we live in this capitalistic society that we live in, we need money. And rather than sitting at home just watching TV, watching people who are acting making money to entertain you, and they don't even watch TV, you need to be thinking about, what can I do with these waking hours that I have? What can I do that I'm good at? This whole decorating thing, I promise you that wasn't what I was looking for. It just kind of happened, right? Now, I'm not trying to create a business.
You're real good at it, though. You're real good.
Thank you. But I am not trying to create a business out of that, all right? But I have found that when people are serious and they want me and Courtney to come in, they are those that are serious. What's your new title, Courtney? What you going to be now? He's in sales. Because he says, I give it away. But so he's the sales, and you got to go through him. But you'd be surprised at what you do. Some of you, and I can think of all kinds of things, but some of you got sewing machines at your house that you know how to sew. Do you know people like me who's short and I always have to get things altered? This is a whole business, right? So I just think that we need to begin to look at what other streams of income can I have that's going to give me that little bit. That little bit adds up, because that's your little bit that you're going to be building your emergency fund, or that's your little bit that you're going to be paying down your debt. Looking at it that way, all right? So you said we need to make sure that we don't fall back into debt by
having an emergency fund.
Okay.
And then if you are going to use your cards, the way that I'm saying, use your credit cards and not your debit cards. Make sure that you're paying them and that you're paying them on time, and not just the minimum.
And if I want to build credit, I don't wait till the due date.
No,
what do I
you
do?
pay by the statement date. Pay
Y'all
by
get that?
statement, not by due.
If you're building credit, maybe your credit has been low and now you're trying to get your credit back up. You want to pay your payments by the statement date, not the due date, because that's going to help ramp up your score. All right?
Because that's what's reported. That's what that balance on statement date, that's what's reported to the credit bureaus.
Okay. Now, we're living in a time now that there's online banking. Is that a good thing? And how do we choose a bank or financial institution online?
Yes, online banking is good because it gives you the ability to be able to watch your accounts. With so much fraud and scams that are going on right now, you need to be able to log in continuously to look to see what type of transactions are hitting your account. When you see them and you see something that is not, you didn't authorize it, you need to catch that right away, whether it be through an automatic debit that's happening on your account, whether it be through your credit card, whether it's through your debit card, you need to be watching.
But what about online-only banks?
Okay, online-only banks, yeah, they're great.
That's a good one?
That is a good one. Why is that a good one? Especially for savings, because they don't have the overhead and they need your money. So they're going to be willing to give you higher interest rates in return on your money than a than a bank that has a brick and mortar location.
What's the benefit of a local bank or a credit union in particular?
Credit union, you're going to be able to build a relationship with them. They're going to get to know you. You can actually, once you build a relationship with a credit union, you can pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I'm thinking about going to purchase a car. What is my buying power? They'll be able to tell you right then and there. Whereas a bank probably is not going to be able to give you that information off of the top like that. Right? It's bigger. You're going to have to go through more of the everyday, just the process and routine. But when it comes to choosing what bank, what financial institution to work with, you want to look at what they're going to offer you. You just got through talking about entrepreneurs. For entrepreneurs, when you're looking at small business accounts, they charge you. Did you know that? They charge you based on the transactions that you do. Mm. So if you're depositing cash, they're charging you per $100 of what you're depositing. Checks, they're charging you. How much you send in Zelle. Now, Zelle should be free, but make sure they're not charging you. When you're doing transfers, when you're doing wires, if you're having to purchase material, make sure you're watching that. But even for the consumer, you and I, make sure that you're looking at the type of accounts that you have. If you have an account that charges you because you have to keep a minimum balance, make sure you're meeting that balance, or you're either meeting the criteria to avoid that monthly fee. Don't pay a bank $12 for a monthly maintenance fee. That just does not make sense, because there are accounts out there that are available to you that don't charge you anything. But remember, a bank is a what? They're for profit. Mm-hmm. Whereas a credit union is for you, it's for the people, it's for the shareholders.
That makes sense. Any questions? Anybody got any questions? Oh, yes,
Can you list some good credit unions? Because I'm
Good question. Can you speak up, though, so they can hear you?
Y'all can hear me? Oh,
No,
sorry.
the speaking, the streaming.
Some good credit unions in the area, because the one I have is just.
So think about your credit unions are a little bit harder, and here's why. You want to think about the line of business that you're in. So you've got teachers, education system that were more so Orion, Memphis Area Teachers Credit Union, right? You want to think about if you work for the city of Memphis, you have the City of Memphis Credit Union. You work for FedEx, you've got the FedEx Credit Union. But you do have other credit unions like Southeast Financial Credit Union. That's one that I've had for almost 30 years. They're awesome. Now, they've reduced their locations, but they still are open. You still have a First South, right? So there are some, that's a couple, Courtney, that I'd say that I would look into to see what they offer. Southeast, very personable. You call, they're gonna know exactly who you are. You pull up in the drive-through, they still have drive-throughs, right? You pull up in the drive-through, you don't have to give them your shareholder number, your share number, right? Because they don't have necessarily what's called account numbers. So that's one that and if you want more information, let me know and I'll tell you. I'll give you something on that one.
Okay. Now, if we pay our balance off every month on our credit card, will we avoid the interest?
As long as you're paying it by the due date. If you don't pay it by the due date, yes, you're going to have accrued interest based on that balance that you're keeping on that card. Does that make sense? Now, if you're smart and you want to avoid that, use your paycheck to help you with that credit card. Y'all want to hear about it? Mm-hmm. So think about your card. You're going to get paid however often, whether it's 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a month. Take your income from your paycheck, pay your card off. What happens to the balance on the card? You just emptied it. Use that card to now do what? To pay your bills.
Is that computing? Okay, and then what happens?
So what you're doing is you're floating it, but what you're also doing at the same time is you're putting it on a card that you're getting what?
Now, y'all got to keep up with this. We can't get in trouble because we can't take up a seed offering for you.
No benevolence.
You got to keep up with that if you're going to use that strategy. Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to get a little savvy with these credit cards that has the reward points on it. Could you give some examples of some good cards that has the good rewards? Like
Good
right
question.
now I have Southwest, which I have a lot of points on that one. But the other ones, I think you mentioned something about that you switch, I guess, depending on what you're purchasing.
Yep.
So can
Okay.
you elaborate
So
on that a little bit?
sure. So Southwest is a good one if you fly what? Southwest. If you don't fly Southwest, don't get no Southwest card. Right? That's the thing about getting specific cards. Okay? So that's almost the same thing when you think about department store cards. Department store cards, you've got to use them at those specific department stores. Now, when it comes to cards, here are some good ones that you may want to write down and do your own investigation on to see what works best for you. But the particular card that I was talking about earlier that I could change what particular category I used, that's a customized cash rewards card from Bank of America. all right? And there are two different ones that you can choose. There's one that's called an unlimited cash reward. That particular one is going to give you 1.5% back regardless of what you use. But that customized cash reward, I can choose which category I want to use. I can choose travel, dining, online shopping, home improvements. But based on the balances that I keep with Bank of America, that 1, 2, or 3% goes up to 3.5%, 4.5%, 5% because of a rewards program. So that's why also choosing which banks you do business with. Do business with a bank that's gonna give you something back in return. Don't let your money sit there for free. That's a credit card. Customized cash reward. A couple of other good ones that you may want to look into as well. American Express is a good one if you're okay with paying annual fees. I'm okay with it because I'm going to meet those expectations. Does that make sense? So I'm okay with that. Another good one would be a Capital One. Capital One has really great cards. You've got Quicksilver. That's a good one. So those are a few that I would say to go for.
Okay, so now, last week when we were in daytime Bible study, we were talking about credit, and a prophet stepped out, but I'm sure she wouldn't mind me sharing this because she shared it in the group. She went into a Kohl's or somewhere to buy some towels. The lady at the cashier said, well, would you like to open a credit card? And she said, no. But she said, well, but if you do, you get $80 off of this purchase, right? So she went on and did it and found out that her credit score dropped. Talk to us about that.
So when you're applying for new credit, it's going to hit your credit. All right? So you're allowed only a couple, 1 to 2 times per every couple of years, 2 years, to apply for new credit. And that's new credit, period. That's applying for a new home, applying for a new car, an installment loan, whatever it may be. So because she applied for that card, that's an inquiry that just hit her credit report. And that inquiry said, hey, hello, it's me. I want new credit. Look at me. But if you do that so many times, guess what the lender is saying? What is going on with them that they're having to apply for so much credit? You then become a risk to that particular lender. And they're going to say, hey, hold up, I don't want that kind of client on my books. That's why it's important that if you are going to apply, be strategic with when you're applying for what. When you're buying a car, you got a 30-day time period. Just go on and do what you're going to do.
In that 30 days.
In that 30 days, do what you're going to do.
What's the difference between a soft pull and a hard pull?
Soft pull means that so here's hard pull, you've actually completed an application. Soft pull, they're just trying to see if you're pre-approved. So it still shows as a soft inquiry, but it's not going to affect your credit score. Does that make sense? Well, I've got one question over here first.
Okay.
I think you may have just answered it. If for someone who constantly gets pre-approvals, all constantly in the mail, you've been pre-approved for this, does that affect your credit?
No.
Okay.
So what that means is most of the time when you get those in the mail, that's probably somebody that you're already doing business with or a subsidiary of that particular company, and they already have your credit profile. So they're just letting you know, hey, if you're in the business of looking for anything new, please pick me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one other question. Dr. Linda talked about the revolving creditors. So if I have a credit card, I do have one, and apparently they sent me a letter saying, you haven't used me in 2 years, so we're just going to drop you.
Yeah, they're going to close you.
Does that affect your credit?
Absolutely. It's going to be considered a closure.
So you need to put something on it.
Put something on it.
It doesn't have to be a lot.
So I'll tell you what I do, and if it works, try it. So a lot of us have subscriptions, right? Take you a card, and especially if you've got a few cards, right? Maybe say 4. You've got a few cards, and you don't necessarily use all of them. Put a subscription on it. Set it up where it's on automatic pay.
Oh, okay.
And that way it keeps activity on it. But if you don't use that card, they're gonna close you. Now, be happy that they sent you something, because there are some that won't tell you. And you'll just end up seeing that that card has been closed. Discover is big with that one. Discover, they will shut you down, not send you any kind of a notice, and then you'll get a notification, especially if you've got like a Credit Karma or a FICO score that sends you, that allows you to look at your scores. You'll see that it dropped 40 to 50%, 40 to 50 points. That's why.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm late, so you may have answered this question. So you see the advertisements, furniture stores like Rooms to Go, Ashley, 90 days, same as cash. But isn't that still an inquiry on your credit?
That is a new inquiry, and that is a new line on your credit.
Okay.
So if you can avoid those, avoid them. I'd rather you get a credit card than that line, because that line can
It's
only
so
be
specific
used.
to that.
It can only be used for Rooms to Go.
Okay. So the other thing is we talked about the different credit cards. For instance, Capital One. They have the Platinum, the Quicksilver, all of those. How do you, I guess, does it depend on what kind of spending you're going to do? In American Express, it's the same. You have the green, the gold.
You got
and-
green, gold, blue, platinum. So it's based on how you're gonna spend. So if you think about like the blue one for American Express, that's really if you're gonna do dining. Platinum is if you do a lot of traveling. You wanna think about Capital One has a venture card. That one is more of a travel card. Quicksilver is more of a everyday purchases. So you just get to know what works best for you. If you're not a traveler, don't worry about getting a card that has traveling rewards, because you're not going to use them. But if you just want to get the cash back for them, hey, great. Quicksilver is a great one because you can do several different things with it. You can apply it back to the card, or you can apply it to your Amazon store. That's what Pastor Linda has done with hers. There's also, with that particular one, you can apply it to get gift cards. That's what I used to do for like my employees at work. I choose one particular card, put some transactions on that, and like in October, I decide, all right, I've accumulated this many points. I'm going to order some gift cards, and that's what I would use for their stocking stuffers.
Okay, I got one more, y'all.
Sure.
Okay, so if you have one particular Capital One card, can you change it for another one? So let's say, okay, I'm ready to start traveling now. I just got the other one. Is it a new?
So you can, you just have to call to see if that's a particular card that they will allow you to change over. Not all of them will allow you to do that because it may be a different platform, but they will let you know. Like with Capital One, they have a Venture and they have a Venture X. Venture doesn't carry an annual fee, Venture X does. And so it'll allow you to upgrade. Does that make sense?
Okay, we're gonna take a couple more questions. I got something else to ask her because we need to talk about mortgage just for a minute. Come on.
Question. If I have a company credit card and they did take my social and all that kind of stuff to build it, does that go toward my credit, to building my credit?
No.
Not at all?
As long as it's a corporate card, they're just getting your social. In the case that you go belly up,
Okay.
they're going to come looking for you. But no, that is not reported on your credit report.
Okay, I saw him. Come on.
So I'm just now starting. Y'all can hear me? So I'm just now starting my credit journey. How many cards would you say you would recommend? So to not get too many hard inquiries?
I am so excited for you. I really am. Yes. How many of us started our credit journey and we messed up real quick? So you're in a good place right here.
Great question. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you started at all?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I got 2 credit cards.
You have 2 or 3? All right. You have two. Oh, he said just two. Just
And I
stop
don't
there.
know if I should get a new one.
So based on when was the last time that you got a card? You can give me a fake time. Doesn't have to be real.
Maybe about 4 months ago.
Don't do it again for another year and a half.
Okay.
All right? And the reason being, you don't want what?
Hard inquiry.
You don't want a hard inquiry.
Right.
So what I say strategically, this is what you should do. If you're going to apply for new credit, put it on your calendar every 2 years. Don't do any more than that. Because life may happen. What if your car breaks down and you need to get a new car? You need to leave that for that particular instance so that you don't have so many hard inquiries,
Okay.
because that'll pull it down.
One more question.
Sure.
So with the credit card, just leave my mind.
That's okay. Well, we can come back to it.
Okay.
We can come back to it. Okay, listen, we got to answer these because we got to do this kind of rapid fire because we're out of time.
Okay.
I want to switch over real quick to ask you about mortgages. Just answer this real quick. Is there any time that a reverse mortgage is a good idea?
Never.
Okay, y'all got that? Don't go get you a reverse mortgage. Now, let's talk, when we talk about mortgages, is it advisable to refinance a mortgage or take a home equity line of credit?
Absolutely.
Which one?
Depends on the situation.
Okay,
Each one bears different reasons for why you would do one or the other.
okay, give me an example.
Dr. Sorry. Go back to what's the reverse one?
A reverse mortgage is your home has been paid off, all right? So an elderly person has paid their home off. They then take the money and the lender now has the mortgage. So when they pass away, say for instance, Pastor Linda now wants that home, she would have to go back and pay that home off in order to get the deed for that home. Don't do it.
So it was working though.
Back in the day, when it first came out.
When it first came out,
Not
because
now.
seniors that had their homes paid off, they could get a reverse mortgage. The bank would hold a mortgage and pay them every month. So it used to be a good thing, but it's not anymore. All right? So again, is it advisable to get a refinance your mortgage, or take out a home equity loan, line of credit?
Yes, so two different reasons. If you've got a mortgage on your home and you, say for instance, have a lot of debt that you're needing to do a debt consolidation for, then you can, and you don't necessarily have a lot of equity, but you do have some equity, refinancing that mortgage and then doing what's called a cash out refinance. I can then take that money from that cash out and pay that debt off.
Mm-hmm.
And I still only have what? One mortgage
And especially if the interest rate
is good. All right? Now, a home equity line of credit works a couple of other different ways. If I've got a home that's worth $500,000, I have one mortgage on it, I still owe about $200,000 on the home, how much do I have in equity? I've got $300,000. I can get a $100,000 line of credit, use that because I want to do some home improvements. I'm only going to pay I'm only going to make payments on the balance that I owe. Once I pay it back off, that line of credit becomes revolving again. It's open for that full amount.
So what she's saying is, if you use $100,000 and you pay, every time you pay it down, you still got that equity line of credit. And you suggest that we need to get a home equity line before we stop working, before we retire. Tell us about that real quick.
You want to get that before you retire because you still have income. You can prove it. One thing about a home equity line of credit, you've got a 20-year payback and a 10-year draw. So that means from the date that I get it, I can pull off of that balance for 10 years, but I've got 20 years to pay that back.
Does that make sense?
But what did I say? You're only paying what you spend. If you don't spend it, it's there. So a line of credit is like a huge credit card. It's there if I need it. So again, if a hot water heater goes out and I'm retired, my income is already probably a little bit lower, right? But I've got money there to choose. I don't have to go back and they're not going to run my credit because I've got that 10-year draw period. Does that make sense?
Okay, lastly, give us some tips about paying off a mortgage early.
You want to pay extra on your principal, and you can do that with every payment. Pay an extra mortgage payment a year, and that'll cut you down 7 years.
Okay, so
on
y'all
a
get that?
30-year.
So if you take one of your mortgage payments, and in that year, because Bishop and I do this, in that year, pay that one mortgage, but you gotta assign it to your principal. You can't just mail it in or go online and pay it as a payment, because they're just gonna put it as a payment. It has to be designated that it's against your principal. That makes sense?
Another good thing, call your lender, your finance company for your mortgage. See if they will allow you to go to bi-weekly or bi-monthly payments, or either weekly payments on your mortgage. Every time you make a payment on your mortgage, you're cutting the amount of time that it's charging you interest. So the more often you make a payment, the less interest that you're paying, and the quicker that you'll pay it off.
And so if you can't pay that one whole mortgage, even if every month you send in an extra $100 and say, this is to principal, you are knocking down that time, those years, you're knocking that 30-year mortgage all the way down. And you young people that are buying homes and stuff, y'all need to do that off the front end. Just go on and do it, and it'll become...
Just make that your payment amount.
It's just your payment amount. And you could look up and have your, you could be in your 40s and your home is paid for just because you were just putting that little extra towards your principal every month or once a year or however you do it. Okay? This has been so good, has it not? Come on, some of y'all, don't you wish you had known this stuff early on? But we can start now doing the things that Shauna has just told us about, and we can make a difference. We can see prosperity in your life. Bible says that God gives us the ability to create wealth. And most of us have something in our arsenal, something in our lives that will create wealth for us if we just apply the knowledge that we've been receiving so that it will actually begin to work. The truth is, many of our counterparts, many of the people in other ethnic groups, they've been knowing this. We didn't know it. And unfortunately, some things we lost out on because once we found out, they changed the rules. Right? So you want to get the knowledge and start wherever you are. Don't wait for a windfall to come. Don't wait till you hit the lottery. Don't wait till I'm going to get this money out of this insurance. Start with the little that you already have, and you'll see it begin to affect the bottom line of your finances, okay? You got some handouts that I gave you. I think you got them. Did they get them as they came in the door?
Pastor Linda, we didn't talk about high-yield savings accounts. Don't let your money just sit there. Put it in a high-yield savings account so you can get maximum interest on what your balances are that you keep.
Your money needs to be making money. Even if it's 2 or 3%. The bank, it makes money on you every night. Every night. So you don't want to just give them your money for free. So think about that. Look at those savings accounts. She'll get on me and say, okay, wait a minute. You need to move this because it's not making, there's something that makes more interest, money on this or gives you more interest. So look at your bank accounts and see if you're earning any interest on your money, no matter how small the money is, because it'll add up, all right? On these handouts that I gave you, one is securing your documents. I want you, because we've been talking about wills and insurance and all of that, I want you to look at your documents. Find your documents. If your mama still holds your birth certificate, because mamas keep all of the birth certificates, let her keep it, but you get you a copy. All right? All of these things, and you want to store them in a place where they're all together. You want to make sure that you have a digital copy and you want to have a hard copy. All right? You want to have a hard copy and put it in something fireproof. So you can go online on Amazon and buy you a fireproof safe. They got these fireproof leather things, packet things that you can put your stuff in, but you want to have both. The way this system is going right now, Don't just rely on digital, because they can wipe out everything, right? They're even saying now, and I've done this, they said, go on there, go on Social Security website, all right, SSA.gov or something. You need to capture where you are. So when you go on there, it'll tell you how many units you've earned, right? Because you know you get Social Security based on how many units you've earned your working life. I went on there and captured, so if it gets erased, because y'all know now what we're working with. Y'all know what we're working with. Look at somebody say, y'all know now. If this stuff gets erased, you have a hard copy to say, oh no, this disappeared on this site, but I captured this. This is where I am in Social Security, how much will I get, and you need to have that. Because too much is happening right now, digitally, all right? But you want to get it in the cloud, take a photo of it, do something, but start working on your documents and having your things where you can get your hands on it. The next thing that I gave you was money-saving challenges. Because some of us, remember what I said, we got to start somewhere. So this is a challenge, a no-spend month. This financial detox, a way to start your savings, building a nest egg, all of these things, grocery store savings, all of those things, it's a way to challenge yourself to begin to save money, to begin to because you thinking, oh, I don't have any money to save. You got some somewhere, right? If you just say, this month, I'm not going to buy anything from Starbucks. Or if you say, this month, we're not going to eat out. Do you know how much money we spend eating out? A whole lot. And I'm not even talking about going to fine restaurants. I'm saying every time you stop at McDonald's and Burger King and Chick-fil-A get a lot of our money. Right? You were there today. They get rich off us. All right? So if you think about, there are ways, you got some prosperity somewhere, you're just not identifying it. And so I just gave you that so that you can begin to look at that. All right, Shauna, thank you so much for sharing with us. This has been great. We want to be empowered and we want to find ourselves in a better place financially. We are not going to be afraid of what's happening in the market. We're not going to be afraid of what's happening in the White House. What we're going to do is now be working on ourselves and have something in place for whatever may come up.
Stop looking at your stocks while the market is going down. Don't look at it. Don't move it. Leave it alone.
Because of what?
It's just the time period that you're in. It's gonna come back. It'll bounce back. The only ones that really need to be concerned about what's going on in the market right now is somebody that's getting ready to retire like this year. Then
Yeah.
you need to go see a financial analyst.
Yeah, if you're getting ready
But
to retire.
otherwise, let it sit there. But stop logging in every day and stop allowing it to mess with your psyche. It's gonna be okay.
All right, and I know that everybody's telling you to pull it out. I'm not a financial advisor, I can't tell you. But I can tell you this, as she said, if you're getting ready to retire, then you really do need to look at it, right? But otherwise, you gotta find some ways to create streams. How many of you have thought about even sitting here, what you can do to create another stream of income? Good, good. Let's create some streams of income, all right? And streams, I don't want you to think $1 million streams. Even the small streams can make if you know how to play the piano, get you a few kids and teach them and charge them. Charge them parents. They're going to pay everybody else. They're going to them cheer camps and all of that. So whatever you know how to do, teach somebody else. Tutor. Do something that's going to create another stream of income. All right? Okay. Y'all, this is ending our Faith and Finance series. But I hope that it will continue to empower your life. as you go on out through the year. The one other thing that I want to do towards the end of the year is I want to have someone come and talk to us about Medicare and Medicaid, because there are a lot of resources we're leaving on the table because we really don't understand all of the resources that are available to us or to our loved ones. It may not be about you. You may not be at Social Security age, or you may not be getting Medicaid, but you have you got a mom or dad, and you don't even know all of the things that they could be receiving, because we just think about the Social Security check. All right, so we'll talk about that as we get further on down. All right, we're going to end here so that we can move out. I think they need to do. Y'all got to do musicians rehearsal, so we got to get out of your way. Well, we went over tonight since this was our last night. Steve, you're going to bring our basket, or somebody, Brother Colin's going to bring our basket. We're going to dismiss, and then we're going to move out so that they can move in. Would you stand so that we can pray our way out? And please come by and give your offering. Let's pray. Father, how we thank you and we bless you for all that we have received, for all that you have empowered us with. I pray now, God, that we will not be overwhelmed, but we will take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and work on these things that we've been talking about. Thank you for Shauna. Continue to bless her life and prosper her in the things that she puts her hands to. I pray for those who will give tonight and for their gifts, that you will multiply them, God, and that you would bless us as we continue to bless the ministry. Even as we leave this house tonight, this place, we ask that you would give us your divine protection. Keep us, oh God, until